Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How you guys going? We're back on FFG's Legion page to have a look at a new Legion unit that was announced at Gen Con over the weekend. This is Chewbacca. Now, usually when I do the Legion stuff on this channel, I tend to group a lot of these articles together. There seems to be overall less stuff to talk about in Legion articles, less upgrades and units revealed overall. But I wanted to make a separate video just on Chewbacca himself because, well, apart from anything, he's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Clearly, I've based my look on him. But also, Chewbacca represents something very unique moving forward in Legion. I feel very much that he is a unit moving forward that really inspires a lot of list building, really demands a lot of build around, and that's not something that we've seen a lot of in Legion. There are certain things that work with certain other kinds of units, but Chewbacca seems to really push in certain design directions, and I like that. I like that moving forward. It's something that we see a lot of in X-Wing, but not a whole heap of in Legion, and I want to talk specifically about that, have a chat about the kind of synergies and the builds that we can use with Chewbacca. So, without further ado, let's go down to the spread and have a look. And before we look at anything else, let's have a look at these two upgrade cards that we can see here on the spread. First up, we have a copy of the card Hunted, which is really good to see, previously only in an Imperial pack. And this gives your unit a bonus against wounded trooper units in the form of an aim token, which is interesting. I don't know how much I like this with Chewbacca. Chewbacca does seem to be good at getting into fights and that kind of stuff, but not specifically trooper units. We'll talk more about that when we see his stats, but I just get the feeling that this is a little bit more narrow than what Chewbacca might want to be doing in most games. I will say one thing I like about this is the fact that it does work with enhanced scopes, which gives you more value out of those aim tokens. Plus, Chewbacca himself already has other good synergies with enhanced scopes because he has other ways to get aim tokens. So the fact that you can get this combo online, you can get value out of one of these cards if the other one's not working. So while I don't think it's a great card with Chewbacca necessarily, I think it's still going to be a decent value play. Plus, you do have two of these decorated slots, which allows you to take this other card, just revealed in this article actually, Tenacity. While performing a melee attack, if you are wounded or one or more of your minis have been defeated, add one red attack die to your attack pool. And the cool thing about Chewie is you can actually have Tenacity and Hunter on him. You can get bonuses if your opponent's wounded, if you're wounded, really capitalize off that aggressive playstyle, which seems to be what he wants to do. And right off the bat, this is basically a build right out of the box. Tenacity, Hunter, and enhanced scopes. Just seems to make a lot of sense. Without going too deep into the other kind of upgrades he can take, this seems like a pretty solid idea just to have on him. Seems to be doing the kind of stuff he wants to do. Seems to really capitalize off his aggressive playstyle. Now, let's talk about Chewbacca himself and bring up the unit card. And before we go into this, I just want to voice a little bit of criticism I have for FFG over this article. In a lot of these Legion articles, we're seeing spreads here on the page with some of these face-up cards, but we're not seeing separate high-definition images of the cards. So basically, our only recourse for getting information off these is to kind of look at the screen really close and tilt our head. This article, more than others, actually seems to be really low resolution in terms of its spread images. I compared this to the Boba Fett article, which I actually have open here in a different tab because I'm using it to refer to the Hunter card, and it looks way more clear and easier to see. The reason I say that is because I can't quite make out the costings of Chewbacca. I just can't do it. I think that says 80. I think. If you go to the wiki for Star Wars Legion, they're saying 190. I don't think that's right. That would make him more expensive than Luke. I think 80 might be a bit cheap. That doesn't seem quite right either. And that's just silly. I don't understand why we have a face-up image of this card. We have it all in shot. Nothing's obscured, but I just can't make out the cost, and yeah, it just seems a bit silly. It would be really good on the bottom of these spreads if we just had little links to each of the high-definition images so there was just no confusion, and the images we have out there in circulation are proper and we can understand them all. It's just a little criticism I have of these articles. But let's not worry about the costing so much. The reason I want to talk about Chewbacca in his own video is because of his design. He has two decorated slots and a tech slot, as previously mentioned. Let's talk about his offensive capabilities. He has a melee attack of 4 red dice, or he has his bowcaster attack of range 1 to 3 with 2 red dice, 2 white dice, impact 1, and pierce 1. And that's excellent because it means he has good capabilities against both regular units and vehicles, which seems nuts. Also, his offensive surges turn into crits, which is, again, decent against both. Very handy. The fact of the matter is, this guy seems to be very capable of attacking different things, and that's the main reason why I'm not so convinced that Hunter's a great card for him. The fact that he does have a lot of offensive capabilities against vehicles, you might want to try and use him to take down vehicles, and not getting a bonus against them means Hunter could be like a dead card in some matchups, and that doesn't feel great. On the defensive capabilities, he's got 9 health and 2 courage, which feels really good, but unfortunately he only defends with white dice with no surge conversions, which doesn't seem great. However, the interesting thing about Chewbacca is he has tangible upside when he is damaged. And it's like I always say, the best defense is a good upside for being shot. In Rage 4, while you have 4 or more wound tokens, treat your courage as dash, which means infinite, and you gain charge. And charge means whenever you do a movement, you can take a free melee attack action. So he can run at someone and just punch him in the face, because he's Chewbacca, of course. So the cool thing about Chewie is he gives you tangible upside if he's wounded. If you take tenacity, he has even more tangible upside if he's wounded. In fact, tenacity procs before in Rage 4 procs. So you could sort of keep him scaling up the more and more he gets damaged. Just charge him at your opponent. I think ideally you want to try and not just run him through the center of the battlefield. You want to try and get him around cover, get him to melee your opponent's core units. That feels like a pretty good application of this guy. Expert Climber, you don't suffer the negative effects of clambering. Guardian 3, again, really good with all the other stuff going on here. Guardian basically lets you shirk off the damage from a friendly unit at range 1 if they're suffering damage from a melee weapon. And the cool thing is, Guardian 3 doesn't mean you have to take 3 wounds off a nearby guy. It is up to 3, which is really, really useful. There's going to be situations where you just want to take 1 or 2. Maybe you're on like 3 wounds with Chewbacca, you just need 1 more to trigger in Rage, so you just take 1 wound off one of your friendly units to trigger that, and then you charge and do all that kind of fun stuff. The fact that Guardian 3 gives you the option, I think, is excellent flexibility. At the bottom here, we have Unhindered. He does not suffer the negative effects of difficult terrain, but what I really want to talk about here is the fact that he has teamwork with Han Solo. While you are at range 1 to 2 of Han Solo, when you or Han Solo gains an aim or dodge token, the other gains the token of the same type. And there is one really big reason why that's excellent, and that's the fact that Han Solo has this command card, Sorry About the Mess, which apart from anything lets him activate first and shoot something in the face, but it also gives him an aim and a dodge token. So if you have Chewbacca and Han Solo next to each other and we use Sorry About the Mess, Chewbacca also gets both of those tokens, which is really, really good. It's just really, really efficient. You get a very quick activation, high priority. It just seems solid. Also, the command card that we see with Chewbacca here, the 3-pip Notorious Scoundrels, which activates Chewbacca and Han Solo, the first operative card that we've seen that actually activates one of your other units. Choose one of Han Solo's command cards in your discard pile. Return that card to your hand. Right off the bat, Sorry About the Mess sounds like a great option for that, but let's look at all the other options we have in Han Solo's command cards. Reckless Diversion, the 2-pip card, activates Han Solo and 1 trooper. That could be Chewbacca. When an enemy unit performs an attack, it must attack a trooper unit that has a face-up order token if able. You can force your opponent to have to shoot Chewbacca if you want to do that. Now, I will say Chewbacca has a lot of agency to force himself to get shot. Maybe Reckless Diversion is, as the card suggests, a bit too reckless. It seems like forcing your opponent to have to shoot Chewbacca may backfire in some situations, but look, more agency to activate his stuff. The fact that Chewbacca wants to be able to take damage, or at least he gets a benefit. I don't know if he necessarily wants to take damage. I don't know if you generally want to make sure he gets damaged. The fact of the matter is he gives you insurance in case he does, and Reckless Diversion feels pretty good. As we've seen in X-Wing, anything that messes with targeting priority on your opponent is really, really good. Maybe not so much in Legion, but the fact that, again, this works great with Chewbacca is a great thing. Also, Change of Plans, the 3-pip card. You can build a command hand with the 3-pip card for Chewie and Han, and if you do, Change of Plan activates Han Solo in 2 units. Again, one can be Chewie if you want. When this card is revealed, you may discard it to return your opponent's command card to their hand. If you do, return to the Select Command Card step. That opponent cannot select command cards that was returned to their hand. And what's really funny about this is you can use Change of Plans to return a card to your opponent's hand, then Change of Plan goes to discard, and then you can take Notorious Scoundrel to pick up Change of Plans again while your opponent cannot use the card they just put back in their hand. And that means that you can use Change of Plans 2 times in a row and make sure your opponent can't use any one particular command card you really don't want them to. If you use this on turn 5 and 6, you could lock something really powerful out of the game, which seems really, really good. It means you've got to spend both of your 3-pip cards, but I still feel like that's good and worth it. Now, I will say, yes, there's a lot of really powerful 3-pip cards. There's not beat around the bush. You have to spend 2 of your cards to prevent your opponent from using it, but you're just locking it out of the game entirely. And it could be like a 1-pip card on like Vader or Luke just to make sure they get a quick activation and kill one of your units. It just feels really controlling and fun and frustrating for your opponent. And as I was saying before, this is the kind of stuff I want to see more of Legion. These real synergies between the different cards. Stuff that really pushes you into certain build and play archetypes. It's a really, really cool thing. I love the character Chewbacca, and I love the way he's being implemented into Star Wars Legion. It just looks really, really solid. I'm very happy with the kind of design choices. It feels flavorful, and it feels fun, and it feels like it demands build around, which is one of the reasons I really love X-Wing, and if they have that in Legion 2, I'm never going to complain. Anyway, guys, stay tuned. We've got a bit more to talk about in terms of Legion content that was spoiled at Gen Con. In the meantime, like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit, and I'll catch you guys later on.